Greetings, brothers and sisters. Bunch of stuff to get to. Alec Baldwin. Somebody sent me a clip from one of his Mission Impossible scenes that was very prophetic. And he just posted something on Instagram showing you, again, he is maybe the worst celebrity at self-perception, being aware of how others see you. And also, I just figured out more ways. I had some T-shirts and like sweatshirts and things. I have this one quote on the sweatshirt with what I consider to be a really funny image. And there was another part of the site which was for mugs and things like that, tumblers, pockets of the future stickers. So I'm ordering all that stuff to make sure it's I'm at least some of it and sampling some of it. The T-shirt's on its way. We did that like a couple days ago. And they said it's on its way. It's in the shipping process. And I just ordered the mug and those things. And so, hopefully that's just around the corner. I mean, I'm almost sure it's going to happen, but I don't want to jinx it. Because there's always roadblocks or the quality could be too poor for me to be a part of it. But anyways, we're looking very much closer to Pockets of the Future merch. And so before I get going on the Alec Baldwin thing and the Madonna thing, Madonna's just, one of my viewers sent me something from her. I have a voiceover I'm going to put in at the end of this thing. This is like a sort of an introduction and then something that I think is profound at the end, although I can't remember what it is right now, so hopefully I will by the time it is to make that part of the voiceover. But this has to do with the truth community or any alternative community. And I was talking about this, because of all the comments I've been getting because of that one post I did on my other channel. And most of the comments have been positive and in agreement with this idea that there's an element of the truth community that just wallows in lies and makes things up and thinks it's okay and justifies it, right? And so this thing that's called the truth community exists in small numbers of people. Like for years, I talked about this, the history of this. It existed in AM radio stations and shortwave radio and, like underground newsletters and things like this. And it was just a very small percentage of the population. But then there was the big event, 2001, and YouTube and the internet. And it grew. Now this, group of people who believed that the official story, the governmental story, and everything about what they tell you is our system and our history is a lie, right? I mean, it's not all a lie, but it's deceptive and it's manipulated and truth is withheld, obscurantism as it's called in the Heartfulness Whispers of the Brighter World. This idea that the government and the people that control the media and all these people are constantly warping reality to manipulate you and control you and to subjugate you, right? And a number of people believe that, at least 30%, maybe up to 50%. Everybody believes it up to some level, right? Some people believe at least, partially this is true. And we all know that it's true to whatever extent, right? And so we can't trust the people who provide our information, our education, our everything, our science, whatever it might be, they've lost our trust. And then there becomes a counter story, a counter narrative, which is what has become the truth community. And there's various counter narratives, various alternative media narratives, and different explanations to the official story. And so we all agree on this idea that we're being lied to, and there's some differences in the parameters and what that means and all the rest of it. But we all agree that the powers that be that is deceptive. But we don't really agree on the truth. Like what is, if that's the lie, then what's the truth, right? And there becomes a lens or template or a status quo in what's now called the truth community. And there's these narratives and ways of looking at things that aren't factual. They might be true, but we don't know for sure. There's speculation. I said this way back when, that there was a point when I realized a lot of the things I was regurgitating, things that everyone else was talking about in the so-called truth community, weren't really vetted or proven, right? They were things that people just started as rumors or as some theory, and they became accepted as fact. And I noticed this for big events. I mean, this is going back to 2015, 16. And I realized that if I was going to be credible, and again, I have a comedy channel. I'm not, I'm not a researcher. I'm not a reporter. I'm just some guy who makes fun of stuff and talks about spirituality. But even in that, I, want to be able to convey legitimate information. I want to make a distinction between speculation and fact and, theory and all these things. And most people in the truth community don't. And so I started to find that a lot of things in the truth community weren't true, or they were, they weren't necessarily false, but they weren't proven, and they were just narratives that were out there. And when I started to talk this way, people got bummed out, right? Because they just wanted to lock in on something and believe it to be fact, and they got hostile without any real explanation. I mean, they couldn't dispute what I was saying, right? And the problem is so much of what we consider, whatever information's out there is not really provable. Anything that's historical and anything that involves intention, someone's perspective, personal perspective, subjective perspective, any historical record, anything like that, it's going to be in story form, and it's going to come through a lens of a human being's ability to interpret what they're seeing. Of course, scientists can be bought and sold. Scientists can be, paid off, and they can be peer pressured, and they can change the scientific data to meet a company's demands or a government's demands. So there's no real way of proving things and having things be necessarily fact, right? So we can agree that the mainstream narrative is built on a foundation of deception, but it's almost impossible to get a consensus or just get to the bottom of what the truth is and get it out there and have it be accepted. And in most cases, the truth is not very palatable, right? People want to have a truth that doesn't freak them out, right? I mean, one of the problems that we have, and again, this is the problem that the government has and the powers that be have, and I don't feel any sympathy or compassion for them, but I do believe this is a legitimate problem. Every movie that you see and there's a disaster, the government chooses to hide the disaster from the people, right? A meteor is going to come and they, and they whatever it is, right? There was just that, whatever that's kind of okay movie, not a great movie on Netflix about this, right? Don't Look Up, And the government first, denies something, then they say it's not so bad, and whatever it is, right? Not just the government, the media. And you can say, well, that's kind of evil, and it is. But if they told people the truth, I mean, look at the way people reacted to COVID. The supermarkets were cleaned out in no time at all. People are taking out money from the banks, cash and things. Our bank, the teller said that they were out of money. They didn't have any money, right? You couldn't withdraw your money, and there could have been a run on banks. And so people will panic when you tell them things that they can't deal with, and there's lots that people can't deal with. And you can say that's also the controller's fault because they've set up a society, a civilization, so that's the case, right? So when it's good news, they can share it with you. But when there's potentially bad news, and the worst news, which is our economy is effed. Our economy is so screwed and upside down. They don't know what to do, right? It's kind of funny, but it's not. And, because of that, they're not going to tell you the truth, right? Because the truth would bring down the system. If people heard the truth and panicked about it, it would take down the system because the system is based in perception. And everybody agreeing that paper money or digital currency or debt has wealth, and it doesn't, right? And so that's where we are. I'm saying this because there's a video I'm doing on Heartfulness, the Journey series that I'm talking about. And there was an event the current president and master of the system, Dodgy, attended, and it was with a group that's controversial in India. And I don't know anything about the group, right? I'm not, I'm not going to read 5 minutes of mainstream media and say I know what the group's about, but certainly there's some issues with it, which I'm discussing in a long video, and it's kind of bummed me out, but because there are some negatives that there's not escaping. But in terms of me knowing what this group is about, there's no way that I could really assess it because the media lies. This would be considered like a right-wing group, a Trump group, just in India. And, they're going to be treated a certain way by the media, and I don't know what the media bias is over there and all of it. And there's media about it in America. And so, you see people who are always saying that the mainstream media lies until all of a sudden the mainstream media publishes something that agrees with your belief system. And so I'm saying this in a way that we'll never really know what is the full story, right? And why things have to be the way they are, and how much of it is God and how much of it is a demonic system and how much of it is part of a plan and all of it, right? That's why I'm pretty relaxed and, chill about all this stuff because, the system's going to collapse and all the details really don't matter, right? When it's all said and done, all that matters is that the system we're 100% dependent on isn't there anymore or isn't going to be there. And we have to, do our best to prepare for that. But anyways, I want to cover this more at the end of the video. But first, let's go to Alec J. Baldwin. Okay, so let's go to Alec J. Baldwin and his Instagram page. His inability to self-perceive is legendary. So here it says, America, where innocence goes to die. He posted a video of M. Night Shyamalan's The Village with the actor William Hurt. But he just keeps on saying things that reminds people that he shot his choreographer and he doesn't get it, that he's completely clueless. And so this is the scene.
Do you plan to live forever?
Well, not if you're Alec Baldwin's choreographer, cinematographer, one of the two.
It is in them that our future lies. It is in Ivy and Lucius that this way of life will continue. Yes, I have risked. I hope I am always able to risk everything for the just and right cause.
Okay, calm down, bro. But I saw this here. William effing Hurt, good God, he was one of the greatest. Oh my, William Hurt, he is sorely missed. And I was like, William Hurt died? I was unaware of this, or maybe I covered it and wasn't, didn't know. Oscar winner William Hurt dead at 71. Avengers Endgame actor's son confirms his cause of death, which is natural causes. Now, he was 71, right? 78 is the normal life expectancy. And so you think with somebody with a little bit more money, you would think on paper that in Hollywood, celebrities would live a little bit longer. Just because they're a commodity. He was still working, he was still acting, and that they spend a little bit more on their health care and they eat, whatever, organic foods and things like this. And people with more money usually have access to better food and health care. But it's not the case. And, there could be other factors here. But he's almost celebrities dropping like flies. Okay, so one of my viewers tipped me off to this, sent me a clip, and then I went and found it. I rented the movie. I think it's the last installment of Mission Impossible. There's the great actor and firearm aficionado, Alec P. Baldwin, and he's got the drop on Superman. Right?
I've ruined your day, haven't I?
I've ruined your day, haven't I? Jillery? No one delivers a kick-ass line like Alec.
Oh, and you were doing so well up until then. And I think this one's loaded.
You think this one's loaded? He just can't help himself even in the past. Like he screwed himself over even in the past, right? He thinks this one's loaded.
And I think this one's loaded. And I think this one's loaded. You want to find out?
Message to say how sorry I was at shooting famous cinematographers.
I want to apologize. I'm sorry that Vladimir Putin has effed with me again. Click with, I don't know what words to use today, but if they click with them. Isn't marriage a gunfight sometimes?
I'd light up a couple usually when I was working, because I'm so nervous when I'm shooting to get the job done. When I was shooting, or just stupid behavior. When I'm shooting.
Your cinematographer doesn't, right? All right. Before that happened, Alec ends up dying 10 minutes later into the movie. Spoiler alert. And before that, Superman said this.
The old world order needs dismantling, and we have the tools to dismantle it.
What is this old world order that you speak of that means dismantling? So there we go with Alec and Mission Impossible. But Alec continuously being clueless and, sticking his foot in his mouth and doing things even in the past, just screwing his present self over. Past Alec screwing present Alec over is very possible. It's Mission very possible. And then one of my viewers sent this to me. It's Madame Expiration Date. And there's this wonderful image. Looks like an alien, right? Jet lag. Sometimes you got to go for the cheap ones. There's a skull there. A skull at the end of it. Somebody's putting fire just... No thanks, right? I mean, just Madam Expiration Date being Madam Expiration Date. Let's move on from this. Meet the Wall Street players making billions on inflation. And so there are people who are, some people have found a way to profit off of other people suffering to do with inflation. $2.3 billion worth. Wall Street banks made $2.3 billion by betting on risking inflation in 2021, double what they made in 2019, because they bet on inflation and they won. So that tells you everything you need to know about that. It's Joe Biden versus Elon Musk. It's Joe Biden versus Elon Musk in a war of words over the state of the U.S. economy. And so Elon Musk said that he has a super bad feeling about the U.S. economy under President Jojo Magoo and plans to lay off 10% of his workers at the Tesla factory. And this is Jojo Magoo's response.
You say to Elon Musk about his feeling about the economy. Jamie Dimon has said similar things.
Well, let me tell you, while Elon Musk is talking about that, Ford is increasing their investment overwhelmingly. I think Ford is increasing the investment in
Ford.
They're building new electric vehicles, 6,000 new employees, union employees, I might add, in the Midwest. The former Chrysler Corporation, Stellantis, they are
He's got a little cheat sheet here.
also making similar investments in electric vehicles. Intel is adding 20,000 new jobs for making computer chips. Lots of luck on this trip to the moon.
The economy's doing great, Jojo. Right? Really, bro? That's the way you're going to go with this? You're going to take it in that direction? No, the economy's great. Also, this is Elon Musk's official checkmark tweeter. Diabolical. And he has this up here, right? So I don't know what's going on with him. He must be some sort of crazy conspiracy theorist. And so one of my viewers sent me this. This is Candace Cameron Burr. She's holding up the water sign here. If you've ever seen, Aleister Crowley has this published in one of his books on occult symbols, the water sign. It's also used in Simpsons when the governmental official, the Simpsons, the the town of Springfield is under a bubble. They've separated them, and then he says, "We're going to kill you all," and he holds up this sign, right? Kind is the new classy. So she posted something on her Instagram story. I didn't get a chance to get it, and probably it's better that I didn't. She was talking about the recent event. She was crying. It was pretty brutal. But here's I miss you. Do I still say happy birthday? I don't know how this works. Well, you don't have anybody else that's been dead in your life, right? This is your first corpse, right? I'm celebrating you today, however badly my heart hurts. Yes, he can hear us, this person says. Really, he can? Bob Saget can hear you, right? I love you, and he did too. So damn much. Eat, travel, rock. That's Bob Saget's. So I guess these are famous people. DeMarcus Carey, Trusted Travel Girl, and Eat, Travel, Rock is his, whatever it is. All these people are. Taylor Lautner, Danica McKellar, QVC. QVC said some hearts. These are all, celebrities or, something that at least they got a check mark next to their name. LeBron James, first active player recognized as billionaire. He signed $1 billion contract with Nike, so there was that. But then this was an interesting story. There's Matthew Morrison's wife, Renee Punti, reacts to his complex SYTS, so you think you can dance exit. So I never liked this guy. He was on Glee. I didn't really watch Glee, but just my sense of him and his voice, and, he's somebody who kind of annoyed me. I didn't even know So Think You Could Dance was still on. But the story was that he wrote an inappropriate tweet to one of the contestants, a girl contestant, and they said it was flirtatious in nature, or he had social media exchanges with her, and he was flirting with her, and, he got fired because of that. And so this is his actual story here. His wife has published this. It's been a wild ride. My husband has finally been given an opportunity to speak his truth. He has done so with such grace and integrity in a situation that is complex and incredibly complicated. It's not either of those things. She sounds a lot like Alec Baldwin. But this is his side of the story.
Really unfortunate that I have to sit here and defend myself and my family against blatantly untrue statements made anonymously.
Why do you have to defend your family? They weren't, involved.
But I have nothing to hide. So in the interest of transparency, I will read to you the one message that I wrote to a dancer on the show. Hey, it's Matthew. If you don't mind, would love to get your number and talk you through some things. The end.
The end.
I sent this because this dancer and I both share a mutual respect for a choreographer that I've known for over 20 years, and I was trying to help her get a job as a choreographer on the show.
Sure you were. You're trying to help her to get a job.
It's devastating that we live in this world where gossip rules and people's lives are being thrown around as clickbait.
Well, I love that world. Speak for yourself, bozo. Anyways, I don't like this guy, but that's a pretty lame tweet to get fired for. Because it didn't, or whatever, message, whatever it was, right? Because that didn't appear to be, and he has an explanation there, something where he was flirting or whatever it might be, right? And so we live in this world, this Me Too world, which is so, like I can see him being fired because he wasn't supposed to have contact with contestants. And, it's supposed to be a show where it's a competition, right? So I can see him being fired, but not publicly shamed, right? He wrote a bunch of stuff here or whatever it is, right? But the shaming, that's why I say, the shaming's got to go. Depp's online fandom is toxic towards domestic abuse survivors, some online creators warn. The memes and divisive comments about the trial only create a hostile online environment for victims of all genders, one TikTok creator said. Amber Depp verdict blasted as setback for women and domestic violence survivors. Only if she wasn't lying, right? And, we know at least she was lying because she was faking. She was acting. She wasn't sincere. She wasn't authentic, right? And I've said this before, I don't believe in victims like most people do because, of past lives and this idea that everything that you experience has to be created from the inside out, which is part of the heartfulness teaching, right? So I don't have this same sense of, things happen that are just one-sided. I mean, everything happens because, two people come together to share an experience and, there's some level of planning and divinity within all of that. And the problem with this, people saying that this is hurting people who survive domestic abuse and who are victims, is that, was she telling the truth? Certainly she wasn't completely telling the truth because she was acting and trying to play a victim and it didn't connect with her audience, right? That she was not believable. And therefore, she lost the case. But no one's ever going to know the truth, like I was saying in the beginning of this video. There's lots of things that you're never going to know unless you're in that experience, unless you were there witnessing it. Some people who witness it would, but they're going to pick sides. Like some of them would be his friends and some of it were hers or whatever it is, right? Like people just don't know. And so, it's okay to watch it or, make comments about it, give your opinion, but you only know if you're really in it, like you're, part of that circle. And of course, this could be completely fake. Vivica A. Fox unloads on Jada Pinkett Smith for no accountability in slap. And this is an Instagram video that is on Wendy Williams' show that's being hosted by this dude over here. Because that's not Wendy. Where's Wendy? I think Wendy's on drugs. So what's Vivica A. Fox have to say?
This is going to be difficult for me.
It's going to be difficult. This is so tough. This is so hard. Such a tough subject. Who's this back here? Is this G.I. Jane? I thought that was G.I. Jane back there.
These are my peers. I've done a movie with both of them. Set It Off with Jada and Independence Day with Will Smith, which absolutely changed my life.
Changed her life. She played a stripper in that one.
When I saw this video last night,
it's okay. It's okay. It's okay, dude. Wow, she's making this a lot more serious than it has to be.
it made me cry. I'll be very honest with you guys.
She's not lying. She actually cried when she saw it. Brought tears to her eyes. Look, her cup says V, and his cup says C for Carson. I think his name is Carson.
Come on, Viv.
Come on, man. Come on, man. You can do it, man. Man, you can do it.
I really felt to be a partner to Will Smith, whose career basically took a crumble that night.
Took a giant crumble. He squatted on the stage and took a giant crumble on his career.
We were all rooting for Will Smith that night.
Hey, speak for yourself, right?
Oscar night, we wanted him to win. Will Smith that night, as far as I was concerned, was going to be crowned this generation's Sidney Poitier, which is
okay, that's a little bit of a stretch. Sidney Poitier was, his original language wasn't English. I think he learned to speak English watching TV shows and, working on his language and getting his dialect and accent so that he could, be an actor. And he was in films when there was no aliens or special effects or CGI, and they had to have character-driven movies and TV shows and things. And so, I mean, you can't even compare Will Smith's acting ability to Sidney Poitier's.
A huge honor. I felt to be a good partner, there was no accountability.
No accountability. None. None at all. Where's the accountability? I said. There should be some, but there's none.
Will Smith was defending her honor.
Her honor. Her G.I. Jane honor.
That was the reason he walked on stage and slapped, because he felt like his wife had been offended.
He slapped and he took a giant crumble. It is great.
So for me to see no accountability as a partner, also let's not forget that Chris Rock was assaulted.
He was assaulted.
We cannot forget that.
Let's never forget. Never forget. Yep.
For basically telling a joke that I really felt wasn't that bad.
Wasn't that bad. Just a G.I. Jane joke. Okay, so to get back to what I was saying in the beginning of this video and something that I was saying at the end of a video I put up today, Saturday, June, what is it? Saturday, June something. Is it June 4th? I don't know. I just checked my phone. Saturday, June 4th. So I was saying this on Apocalaughsnow Now video. It's entitled The Queen something. The Queen dropping like flies, because there was a couple of headlines where her... Anyway, it's not important. But I want to continue from this introduction today on this video and from that video. And so when you think about the power that you possess, that everybody possesses in this society, in terms of the controllers, in terms of the government, in terms of the media, in terms of all of these things. And so we have, as a collective, three distinctive powers. The first one is economic power, boycotting things, choosing to purchase things, right? And, voting with our purchasing power. So people think about the right to vote, and voting is just, it's not real, it's whatever. But you're purchasing, voting with your, with your money, your ability to buy something or not, collectively, is, right? And for years, that was a power that people took for granted, because in 2015 and 16, corporations and the movie industry, and I mean, it was across the board, all these institutions that used to kiss the customers' proverbial butts, right? Just said F you to you. We don't care whether you buy our products anymore. And this is now with social media too. We don't care if you use our platform. We're going to do things and force things on you don't like, right? We're not going to care whether you are our customer. I mean, the customer was always right, was thrown out in recent times. They don't care. They make decisions. Before that, corporations, the famous saying from Michael Jordan when he said that he didn't take positions on political issues because Republicans buy sneakers too. And he didn't want to, alienate a demographic of potential customers. And that has always rung true until 2015, 16, and then all the way up to now, where now they don't care about that, right? They don't care if you boycott them. The corporations are taking stands on, pushing a liberal Hollywood morality and all of it. And they don't care whether you're for it or not. And they don't care whether you're upset about something. 60% of people were against something that they were pushing through in a social media, a new social, ethical, moral type of issue in 2015. And now it's stuck, right? And even if the majority of people don't agree with it, it's a part of our culture. It's a Hollywood morality that they've infused into our system. And so that power has disappeared. They don't care if you boycott. They don't care if you choose not to buy their products, because they know that there's going to be an economic transition. And so they're changing the way they relate to you as a customer. The other thing is the power of the mob. And that's when people go crazy. They just go into a frenzied, like violent, mob type of situation. And certainly in America, where there's 450 million guns owned in the country, which adds another element to that, and people with military training and things, there's a fear of the mob. But what we found is that when they pushed the other agenda, the customer agenda, when they ignored your ability as a customer to ignore the brand damage that they were doing, they didn't care about brand damage anymore. And so when they did these things, and there was social outrage, we saw the social outrage and the Trump hatred and the riled up Trump supporters and the division that was in our country. Even with that, there was no mob, right? And we can see, as long as people's bellies are full and they have access to the internet and, their entertainment and things, they're not going to riot, right? We're not going to see any sort of riot or revolution. And so that power's gone. And again, the people that control the system, there's going to be damage done to their system if America went rogue, if America was, the government was overthrown by the people. It would cause huge economic cataclysms. But, pretty soon that's not going to matter, because they're going to go with a new agenda, and they want to create poverty. They want to create dissension. They want to create deprivation and shortages, because they got to get you to accept a deal, because the economy's collapsed. They got to get you to accept a deal where you're going to give up some of your privileges and some of your, lifestyle entitlement, because they can't provide it anymore, right? The system is crapped out. So that's gone too. So those are the two powers that, the masses have. The power of purchasing things, the power of their, their material purchases, and also the potential of them going into some sort of a mob, right? And those were real threats to the powers that be. They used to be scared of these things, scared that they'd alienate you as a customer, and scared that you would, form groups and go, basically apeshit in a mob-related type of revolution. But now they're not scared. You can see it. They've changed their view on it, because they know they have no choice but to, do something, because the economy and the system is collapsing, and they're a threat to lose their power anyway. And so they're not scared of the people, right? And that's what the number one fear of rulers is, that the people will turn on them. And, it's happened in, various places around the world, revolutions and things. And it doesn't end well for the king or the people in power. We've seen it before. And so those powers are gone. And so there's another not so well-known power, which is your ability to connect to God and raise your level of consciousness and vibration. And if people did that collectively, then the dysfunctional economy and the system we have would cease to exist. It would be something that we weren't contributing. We're all manifesting this current system. They're using our energy and our ability to manifest reality, because people can manifest realities. And they're using that power to manifest this system. And they do it in a lot of different deceptive ways to keep you, like some sort of succubus, stealing your power to manifest things and bring reality from your insides to the outside world. But if you change your insides and your insides are divinized, then the system that we have now, there's no way that you will contribute to manifesting it, because you're at a much higher level. And that's a way to change things, the heartfulness meditation I've talked about in the past. And so as far as I understand, those are your only powers, right? To deal with what's going on in the world. Your ability to manifest reality from the inside out, and the other two things that no longer exist, right? Protests don't work, and, they don't care if you're unhappy, because they know you're going to be unhappy. They're about to sell you a big pile of crap, right? And so when you're pursuing truther stuff, right? When you're thinking, okay, that you're somehow evolving as a person by exploring the world of trutherism and alternative narratives that are different from the mainstream narrative, right? So when you're, believing that, which, all right, maybe you're changing and evolving. It only works if you rise to a higher level, a higher vibration. But if you get mired down in blaming and, oh, this group is at fault or that group is at fault and it's the controller's this and the controller's that, then it short circuits any power that you have to manifest a higher reality, and you're just mired in this whole blame game and, just in some dysfunctional relationship with the so-called elites. And you're thinking the only way for it to change is to force the elites or imprison the elites or whatever way that you want to frame it, and that's not true. And you're not going to wake everybody up either, and I've said this over and over again. If everybody woke up to the system being tragically flawed and insolvent, then the faith in the system would dissipate, and the system runs on perception and your faith in it and your belief in it, and so it immediately would collapse. And that would set off a chain of disastrous results, right? Because there isn't a backup system ready to take its place. And so this is, very important to know. Like, what are you doing? Well, you can be building your skills and, changing and evolving to be the kind of person that can survive or even thrive in a post-apocalyptic world. Training, your kids and future generations, building pockets of the future so that, you and others will be able to adapt to the ever-changing world ahead of us, right? And so if you're not doing that, they're going to need people in the future who are capable and have skills. If you're not developing those skills, then what use are you in you might be able to do things here in this world, but when your job and your career and your lifestyle and your purpose no longer exist, what skills do you have, right? If you don't have any, well, good luck with that, right? And so there's something you could do. And of course, changing internally, becoming more saintly, becoming more, having a deeper internal relationship with the divine changes everything around your personal environment. And collectively, when people are connected to God in this way, there'll have to be a new system because the people's internal worlds will demand it, right? You're manifesting the system from the inside out. And so a new system will have to take its place because your insides will be a lot healthier, a lot more spiritual than this reflected materialistic system that has been manifested from people's corrupt inner worlds, right? And so this is the kind of system low-level, low-vibrational people create. And, when you raise in your level of consciousness and you evolve spiritually, then you need a new system. And that's the system that all of us can manifest. So this is something to consider because right now there's only, to me, this one hope. Only spirituality will save this world type of a hope, right? When I say that, it's a quote from Babaji, the second master of the system, that there is just this last thing because we've lost any power or influence we have over the people who control the system. Only spirituality will save this world. It's Paul Romano, definitely reporting from the Apocalaughs and the Ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.